Hi there, I'm Carolyn Dunn of Dunn Reimagined Designs, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. So today we're going to go from this to this beautiful Boho Vibes Lazy Susan. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, here's our color palette. We started off by base painting the piece in Boho colors. So we started with Antebellum blue in the Dixie Belle paint. We did the back with that and part of the front. And we also used bright orange, bright yellow, Fuchsia Pop, purple Pizzazz on the front. And so our total color palette includes Dixie Belle's chalk paint Antebellum blue, golden titanium white. In the Deco Art Americanas, we've got bright orange, bright yellow, and Fuchsia Pop. In Craft Smart Multi-Surface, we've got Periwinkle. Then back to Deco Art, we've got Purple Pizzazz, Gentle Heather, Teal Mint, Bahama Blue. And then in the Art Alchemy, we have Crocus Fields, gorgeous. And then in the Deco Art Dazzling Metallics, we've got Purple Pearl, Peacock Pearl, Glorious Gold. And the teal mint that I've got here is a close match to what I actually used, which I had pre-mixed for another project. And it's sort of close to a like mermaid tail color, just a really nice teal. And I thought that matched quite closely. So there's your color palette. Okay, this is the new piece that we're working on. And it is called Boho Vibes. So I've already painted the bottom and I varnished it several times to protect it while we're painting. Then on the front, I painted circles and I've got Antebellum blue. I've got like a mermaid tail color, and then purple Pizzazz, and then Fuchsia Pop, and the orange is bright orange, and the yellow is from Liquitex, and it is called Cadmium Yellow Light Hue. Deco Art Americana's bright yellow would work well here too. So from there, we started the layout. Okay, so I found my center, and you can always look back at my Finding Center video. Since that video, I found that this is very handy, and this is what I use now. I know these are 14 inches. All these Lazy Susans are 14 inches. So once I line that up, I can get my center and lay out my lines from there. So now this is laid out, and the chalk pencil I use is the Yoke water erasable pencil. Now that we have that all laid out, we're ready to get our center dot. You know, the most important dot of the whole thing. And we're just gonna go with the flow on this one and see where we get. Okay, let's see if we can't get that center dot in. I'm going to go in with maybe the 23. And I'm using the white titanium paint to start. I'm laughing here because I got my head in the way, so I had to edit it out, and it looks like I threw that dot down there. I'm using the pink needle tool, and I'll use the silicone tool as well, just to help make sure that that circle is completely round. So now we're going to go in with the small end of the white dotting stylus to create our first row of dots. So we're going in now with the large end of the white dotting stylus, and we're continuing on with the titanium white. The entire center of that yellow circle is going to be done in white dots for now. Okay, carrying on with another round of dots in the titanium white. So we'll just go with the white tool again. Okay, now we're going to move on to the blue tool. And we're using the large end of the Green Stuff World dotting tool. Just going in now and trying to make most of those dots circular. The surface on this Lazy Susan for some reason became a little bit grainy, and so some of the dots were distorted. So we're just going in to touch them up now. During touch-up, I found that I had to remove a few of the white dots. So here I am touching it up with the yellow underneath, and then we're going to move on to doing some gold dots, and we'll come back to finishing up the white dots when that's dry. Okay, so now we're using the large end of the yellow tool to create the uppermost dots above the final row of white dots. And I will tell you that I do end up changing that gold to bright orange, but for now we're putting in gold. And then we'll be walking the dots down with the small end of the yellow tool. And now we're going to start placing tiny gold dots in between each one of the white dots, starting with the small end of the yellow tool and moving on to finer tip tools. Now we're going to put in some Fuchsia Pop swooshes in between the last row of the white dots. And we're going to start with the large end of the yellow tool, and then we're going to drag that dot down with the pink needle tool. And now we're going to create large teal dots on every other line using the number 10 dotting tool. Use the large end of the green tool to create the uppermost dots above the teal dots. Okay, we have some purple swooshes in there, and we're going to follow that by pink, blue, and yellow. We used the white stylus for the white side swooshes alongside the teal dot, and using the small end of the yellow stylus, we placed a purple pearl swoosh between them. And finally, using the blue stylus, we placed a purple pearl swoosh above the teal dot, starting at the rim between the orange and the pink. So now we're on to the Fuchsia Pop swooshes. We're going to come down a little bit lower than the top of the purple pearl ones. We're going to use the large end of the blue tool to start, and you can use that end to drag it down, or if you need to, turn it around and use the small end to drag. Up to you. So while we're waiting for those swooshes to dry, we're going to top dot those teal dots with Bahama Blue, and we're using the number 5 in the DIY Mandala Stones dotting tools. Okay, so some of this not captured on film was that I went in and I placed bright orange over that center dot. Now you can choose to do this or not, that's up to you. I then put in the Bahama Blue swooshes beside the Fuchsia Pop ones, and again using the blue tool, the large end, and dragging down with the smaller end. And now we've just finished putting in bright yellow dots in between those swooshes using the number 7 in the DIY Mandala Stones tools. And now, because I just didn't think the gold was bright enough or bold enough, I have decided to go in and top dot all those gold dots or cover them with bright orange as well. So we'll see how that goes. Again, if you want to keep them as gold, that's absolutely fine as well. Now we're placing tiny Fuchsia Pop dots at the bottom of those purple pearl swooshes. The small end of the blue tool would work perfectly for this. Alright, so now we're adding some glorious gold dots along the perimeter of the orange section, and we're using the white tool, the large end of the white tool. Should get 3 dots within one of those sections that we've got marked out with the chalk pencil. Okay, happy dotting! Okay, I've decided to take some metallic purple pearl, and top dot all these white ones. Call me crazy. It might not be a good idea, but we're going to try it and stay out of the other paint. Now here we're making sure we've covered up all of those gold dots with the bright orange. Now we're taking that needlepoint tool, because we need a really fine tip, to drag a Bahama Blue swoosh over top of, in the center of the fuchsia swooshes we have there. So you don't want to cover the entire thing, just highlight it. Woohoo! We're into the Fuchsia Pop section. So we're using the purple Pizzazz paint, and we're creating dots every other line with the number 14 tool. So now we're going to walk some bright orange dots around those big purple dots. And we're going to start by using the large end of the white tool to create that uppermost dot. And then we're going to walk the dots down with the small end of the white tool. And now we're going to walk the dots down with the small end of the tool. These dots are made for walking. Well, someone forgot to turn all the lights on. It's funny the change in color, isn't it? Now we're switching over to titanium white, and we're using the large end of the white tool to create those uppermost dots all the way around. Okay, we're going to start to do some swooshes now. We're doing them in titanium white, and we're using the small end of the white stylus tool to start and drag those swooshes down. The occasional time I'll use the pink needle tool if I can't get it tucked all the way in at the bottom. So let's get swooshing. We're going to come down the middle now between the white swooshes, right in the center. We're going to use the large end of the blue tool to load the paint, and then we're going to use the pink tool to drag that down. And we're using Bahama Blue. It's been a minute since we've done some top dots, so let's go in with the Gentle Heather. We're using the number 10 DIY Mandala Stones tool, and to create those top dots over top of the purple Pizzazz. It's time to bring back that teal mint again. We're going to create some side swooshes for the middle guy, and we're going to use the yellow tool, the large end of the yellow tool. If you have room, drag it down with that. If it gets snug, don't forget your needle point tool. It can always help. Okay, we're going to go in with bright yellow now, and we're going to do a round of dots at the transition of the colors. And we're going to use the large end of the green tool, and we're just going to make those big dots. Okay, we'll let that dry while we think about our next pattern. Okay, as you can see, I've used my chalk pencil to create some outlines. I'm using the 1 1/8 inch circle. And so I've taken it from sort of the midpoint down, and I'm bringing the tip of it down there, and I want it centered on that line. And the circle's half point lines marked on the stencil should be just after the yellow dots. And here we're going to be creating a swoosh. And then we'll create some more swooshes. Same thing, some other swooshes. I can't draw them, but I can do them. And then we're going to dot along that line. And so we're going to want peaks on our dots. And then we're going to come down to very tiny dots when we get down to the bottom in there. Okay, so that's the plan. So we're going to use the white to create our swooshes. And then we're going to do a row of white, a row of the Fuchsia Pop, and then a row of the bright orange. I think we'll start with the blue, and then we'll use the small end to drag it down. Okay, first round done. And now we're going to go down and do another one. And I think we'll dot the big one and drag with the small end. And we want to be close to that, but we want to be able to see the purple in between those. Now we're going to do our row of white dots, and we'll start with the big white dot up here. Maybe the pink, the large end of the pink one for this, to take the dots down. And we're going to follow the circles that we have created. Okay, time for the orange and then the pink. Using the large end of the blue dotting tool. And we'll make some nice orange dots there. While you were gone, I completed the Fuchsia Pop dots using the large end of the blue stylus and walking down with that end as well. On to the next round here. I have a pattern that I'm going to try for this section that I think will turn out nicely. You can see I've sort of got the beginnings of it there. And what we're going to do is drag a swoosh down here. These two spots will be for walking the dots. around. And then we're going to do some swooshes on the sides of them. So we'll just start with the obvious here, the first swoosh. You need lots of paint for that. But we're going to drag it down fairly narrowly. Look at how vibrant that is on that. And we're going to do the same thing again. Okay, that's the beginning of that pattern. Okay, now we're going in with some titanium white paint, and we're using the yellow tool, the large end of the tool to create the uppermost dots, and then we'll turn to the small side to walk those dots down, and we're just going down part way, as you can see in the video here. Now we're going in with some purple Pizzazz, and we're using the large end of the white stylus to create the uppermost dot, and we'll walk it down with the small end of the white stylus. Okay, so we're going to work now on putting some gentle heather swooshes around the Fuchsia Pop swoosh. And we'll be using the large end of the white stylus. And the same will come from this side. All that around. And we're going to do the same all the way around. We need a little bit of pouring medium in there. Just a little too thick for our little swooshes. We want them to really flow nicely. There we go. Now, let's try. Let's try again, Mr. Kraft. Do you remember that? Do you remember that commercial? You old like I am? All right, there we go. Oh, much nicer. Yeah, like that. And just like that, it's like magic. We're all the way around. Now we're going to walk some titanium white dots down the side of the gentle heather swoosh. And we'll be using the large end of the white stylus, and we start a little bit lower than that gentle heather swoosh and just work our way and walk our dots down. I decided we started a little too low with the white dots, so I've brought those dots up one more dot. Now, very exciting today. I got some new paint. It is Crocus Fields is the color. from Art Alchemy. Yeah, so look at that, Crocus Fields. I can't wait to open that up and have a look. Maybe we'll incorporate it here. Oh, top dots there. Yes, love it. Okay, but it's a process, so let's get our regular purple swooshes in. With the white tool. We're gonna come down lower here, okay? So we're gonna come down just right about there. Right in the middle of those two lines. Oh, I think right up at that line. Okay, so right up at this line. And we want the distance to be fairly similar there because we want everything to be symmetrical. And sometimes we have to play with it a little bit to get it there. Alrighty then, now that we've finished up with those purple Pizzazz swooshes, we're using the large end of the blue tool to walk some titanium white dots down either side of those swooshes. And we're going to do that all the way around. Okay, weird decision here, but I decided to add periwinkle to the mix. So it's Craft Smart Multi-Surface, and it's in the color periwinkle, and we're going to use the large end of the white tool to create some swooshes under those dots. Okay guys, exciting times. I am cracking open the Crocus Fields paint. So we're going to put dots in between the swooshes in Crocus Fields. It's glorious paint, but it does not do it justice on this video. Anyhow, I'm using the large Green Stuff World dotting tool there. It's comparable, or you could use a number 9 in the DIY Mandala Stones tools to get that appropriate size. I love it! Well, while you were gone, I added some peacock pearl dots at the bottom of the swoosh pattern, but in the purple section. And now we're going to put in 3 tiny little yellow swooshes using the small end actually of the white tool. Seemed to work best. So just 3 tiny little swooshes, and we will be putting a dot at the bottom of those swooshes. And all the way around. And now we're going to create those dots in bright orange and using the number 6 DIY Mandala Stones tool. And of course, all the way around. Now we're going to place a white dot using the small end of the pink stylus at the bottom of the peacock pearl dots that we have there. And then we're going to walk those dots using the same end, the small end of the pink stylus. Well, we're finally in the antebellum section. Now we're going to create a pattern separator by placing alternating swooshes all around that rim. So you've got 2 lines that you're using there. You start at the top with the large end of the white tool and drag your swooshes down. We're going to go all the way around with the peacock pearl swooshes first, and then we're going to come back and put in the purple pearl swooshes in the opposite direction. So just leave yourself enough room and try and keep them equidistant so that you can put your purple pearl swooshes in between them. That sounds simple, doesn't it? Peacock pearl done. Check. Now we're going in with the purple pearl, and we're going in the opposite direction, and we're just filling in those spaces with a swoosh coming down the other way. And make sure to let that swoosh narrow down at the bottom. This is going to give us a beautiful pattern separator. When we're finished these swooshes, we're moving on to big Fuchsia Pop dots. Okie dokie. So we're going in with the number 22 in the DIY Mandala Stones tool set. And we are going to create dots on every other line, all the way around. There we go. That really brightens it up, doesn't it? Okay, the first dots we're going to do are in the titanium white. And we're using the large end of the pink stylus for the uppermost dots and also to walk the dots along the side. Now we're moving on with the Bahama blue, and we're using the large end of the white tool, and we're realizing that we're probably not going to get another dot above that, and that's okay. We'll go with the flow. I have a plan. Now, let's walk those dots. That was a lot of dots. So let's move on to some swooshes. We're going to be using our teal mint color, the large end of the blue dotting tool, and we're going to create swooshes along either side of our flowers. I'm just using the blue dotting tool here to add this teal paint. This is a custom blend, so Mediterranean teal or a darker teal paint will work. We're just starting at that second line back, so we're a little bit down from the top. My intention was to have another dot up there, but that didn't really work out. So we're gonna swoosh it. Because why wouldn't you? And we're gonna do these swooshes on both sides all the way around. And then, as you can imagine, we're going to be doing more in different colors. The left side is a little bit more difficult for me. Oh, one more. Okay, we're going in with the Bahama blue again, only this time we're doing a swoosh, and then we'll lighten that up to do another swoosh. And I think we'll just use the blue tool again, but we're going to come down a little bit shorter. And we're gonna do the same thing all the way around. You want to be as sort of close as you can without touching. Or all in, you're touching all the way. Okay, now I've taken some of the Bahama blue and I added some of the titanium white. So that's the two of them together just to lighten it up to go on to our next swoosh. And we're going to come down to this line here. And I may do all the left ones first. Okay, we're on to the last swoosh. We're using the titanium white paint and the white dotting tool, and we're going to drag it down with the small end of the tool to get into that fine space there. Now we want to leave enough room for a dot that we're going to place between the swooshes, right about here. So we'll just think about that as we're going round and make sure that we do that. Okay, I think it's time to go in with our crocus fields again and top dot those gentle heather dots. We're going to use the number 8 dotting tool in the DIY Mandala Stones set to dot those in the beautiful, beautiful crocus fields. Do you not just love it? I ended up thinning this with a little bit of the white pearl from Dazzling Metallics. It seemed to help. And for the last bit of paint, we're going to put some bright yellow dots in between the swooshes using the number 9 tool in the DIY Mandala Stones set. And then it'll be time for cleanup. Okay, you can see that we've got most of the chalk lines off. We just use a soft microfiber cloth and we dampen that with water, and we've just kind of gone across it all and made sure that our chalk lines are gone. We still had some that were fairly evident in the purple, but I think we've got them all now. And we're going to go in next and do any little touch-ups. When you look at it from a distance, it doesn't look like it needs any, but once you get close up, you'll find the occasional little spot of white on the antebellum, or maybe a little bit of that teal color that needs to be touched up a bit. You know, go through. You want it as perfect as possible. And don't forget to check your sides. I'm a bad one for getting paint on the little splotches of paint on the sides, so you can go through and get that. You don't want to find that when you've got the varnish brush in your hand. Okay? All right. Okay, now everything dried, and I've done all my touch-ups, and I've actually put on 2 coats of varnish, and now we'll go through putting on this 3rd coat together. Let's start this way. Okay, bring that a little around here. Just want to make sure we get all the edges here. And a little bit more along here. And then we get some in the middle there. Just get everything pushed around. And get a coat on your sides here as well. Just make sure we get a nice coat on there. And then back around the sides, because when you do that, it tends to push them over the sides and then you can get the drip on the bottom. We don't want that. Always check underneath and make sure you don't have any drips that are going to cause you any issues. Okay, now we've just got to walk away. You can't overwork this stuff or you'll end up with a mess, because it does start to dry fairly quickly. And guess what? We are done. We just need to let this dry, and then we'll attach the bottom back onto the Lazy Susan and take some pictures. And here is our beautiful finished piece. Boho vibes. I like it. Thanks again for joining me on this journey. Wait till the end so you can see the spin. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. And keep on dotting.